Copyright disclaimer: under the Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing.
Next issue is an issue that I call, hey, boss, don't microchip me. So there have been proposals that employers, this starts in other states, are asking, it always starts out voluntary, for employees to have a microchip under their skin, like in their hand, let's say, so that you just wave it in front of a reader, and it's used for security or getting into a building or accessing certain areas. It's supposed to be really convenient. But of course, this idea horrifies a lot of people. So a bill has been introduced by Representative Breanne Thomas she represents Seattle and Vashon. She's a Democrat. Her bill is HB2303, and it would, very simple, prohibit any employer from requesting, requiring, or coercing employees to have a microchip implanted under their skin. This is an obvious idea, if you ask me. And the problem with these proposals, and again, this has started in some other states, is it starts out voluntary. And then before you know it, the boss is saying, no, it's mandatory. The other part of coercion is they'll say something, the company, let's say, sometimes the government does this. Hey, we're not forcing you to do anything. We're just going to make your life really, really difficult until you comply. So these mandates, whether it's in the private sector or the public sector, are always suspicious when they start out supposedly voluntary. Usually there's some kind of suggested coercion behind it. So Representative Thomas is getting ahead of this problem. We commend her for it. And this should be a very popular bipartisan idea. It is certainly something that Washington Policy Center would support. And we'll see how that bill does. It also brings up this apocalyptic future of science fiction that you hear about, where people are being turned into robots or, advance and be mechanized. The more digital technology we have, the better. It's the first step to a brave new world. I know that this all sounds kind of over the top, but we have seen that ideas start out small and then they tend to grow. It reminded me from a policy point of view of the original thinking of the Social Security number that was enacted first in the 1930s. It only applied to people who were in the workforce, number one. And number two, the government only assigned you a Social Security number when you got your first job. So when you entered the workforce, you got a number. Well, here we are today in the modern world, and Social Security numbers are now issued mandatorily to every baby that's born in the United States. So it went from being a number for workers and for a social insurance program like Social Security to now it's our national identification number that applies to everybody. So I'm just explaining that that's the way these things grow, and we need to watch out. I'm not necessarily saying that Social Security numbers are bad. It's just that they start out small and then gradually expand, and by the way, become a mandate for everyone. So it's something to watch out for.
All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rechak Kodash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the elder bishops, the elders of Great Millstone who rule very well, very beautifully. Double salutations be unto the Akim out here pushing this gospel and truth and its sincerity to the best of their ability, given to them by Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Peace, blessings, and salutations be unto the elect scattered abroad. May the election of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Lord willing, fall upon your houses. This is Brother Quanawath coming back at you, Lord will, with the edifying lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Lord will. It is edifying, Lord will. It is straight to the point. Hey, we're here. Right? We are definitely in the time, and it's gonna happen soon, right? Within the next months, weeks, days, right? We're not going to say years, but we're definitely going to say months, weeks, days, right? Where Esau Edom is going to make the RFID micro C-hip, right? The little rice grain, little C-hip that they put in your hand, or little brain disc that, Elon Musk and his company Neuralink, as well as other different biotech companies are ultimately coming out with, and putting in people's heads, right? we're in a time where they're going to make that mandatory, right, in order to be able to participate in society, right? As you just, watching that video, that man was ultimately talking about a bill, that Senator Thomas Thompson, ultimately had introduced. She introduced a bill that is to prevent employers from making it mandatory. Why would you need to pass a bill preventing employers from making it mandatory if it wasn't going to happen? Right? Or if it's not something that's going to take place in the near future, or if it's not something that's going to be, forced in the near future. So 2 Corinthians 2:11, right? We're not ignorant of Satan's devices. We understand what's going on, right? Even though they pass a bill saying, hey, we're against it being made mandatory. We understand that according to the scriptures, according to prophecy, it is going to be made mandatory, right? So I'm going to start right here in Habakkuk 2, and I'll start at verse 1. It says, God answers the prophet. It says, I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And this is what we're doing, right? We're constantly, the true prophets, Yahweh Shemel Shah, beginning with our elder apostles of Great Millstone on down, right, to the men that have come up under them, whether they be of Great Millstone or Great Millstone affiliate, right? Those that have the true doctrine, right? The truth. We're standing upon our watch, right? We're looking at these different videos and policies and bills that are being passed, right? Or being introduced and soon to be passed, right? And letting you know through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Shah the times that we're in, right? And we're currently in the time, of Jacob's trouble, right? And the peak of Jacob's trouble is about to hit, right? Which that peak is going into what? The mandatory implementation of the RFID micro C-HIP upon the masses, right? Where everyone is going to have to take the micro C-HIP, or you're going to be ostracized from society and or literally killed, right? Which is according to prophecy, right? Verse 2, it says, and Yahweh answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it, right? And we're making it plain, right? Easy for you to understand, plain to be understood. The RFID micro C-HIP is the MO to the TB, right? The MARK, as we read in Revelations 13 and verse 16 on down, which we're going to grab, right? Verse 3, it says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. And it's speaking loud and clear, right? Again, the different policies and bills that are being introduced, right? The dialogue, the rhetoric that's being used, right? In these different summits and meetings and interviews and so on and so forth, right? Letting us know that we are in the time of this C-HIP being made mandatory. We already see, what digital IDs, right, across the world being mandatory, being made mandatory in these different countries, right? And that right there is a precursor to what's coming, right? They are going to make the RFID micro C-HIP mandatory for everyone. And it's going to have all your data. It's going to have everything about you on that C-HIP, man. And they've been putting this in movies for years. They've been putting it in movies, right? You got Total Recall. You got a Demolition Man. You got all these different movies in which these people have taken. What is it? The one with Justin Timberlake. Damn, what was that movie? But they have so many different freaking movies in which they're showing you what the future is going to, is going to be like, right? That's the future that Esau Edom wants to set up, right? Where everybody is basically connected to the IoT, the Internet of Things, or, the IoE, right? The Internet of everything, right? Esau wants everything, right? He wants to be able to look and monitor and control everything, right? As we read in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 4, right? He sees himself as the most high. And we listen to what, Yuval Noah Harari, right? The little, little Mo, has, the statements that he's has made recently, right? Saying that, that we don't need God, that we can, that they can make the rain and this and the third, right? Which they have their heart machine, right? Esau is basically trying to be the most high on the left hand side using this technology, right? Esau has something called the God's Eye, or Palantir, or Gideon surveillance, where he's able to tap into different microphones and screens and cameras and so on and so forth, right? Anywhere in the world, he's able to do this with this technology, being able, to monitor the people, to see, what people are doing, where they're going, right? He does that through this, social media, you know. It's because he wants to be on time. He wants to be the most high. Harari also said that God is already dead. We just, trying to hide the body. Like, these devils are fucking proud, man. You know, they're fucking proud. And we see it, and it's speaking loud and clear that Esau is about to establish his NWO. Right? Verse 3 says, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry, and it's coming." And again, we are in that time where Esau is about to make this RFID micro C hip mandatory, right? Which again is prophecy, right? Revelations 13 and verse 16, it says, "And he calls it all," right? And he calls it all. When you go into the NLT, when you click on this word "cause it," matter of fact, let's grab it. We'll grab it in the blue letter, right? Strong's G 4160 poieo, right? To make, right? And you heard, right? It says, what, to make a thing out of something. Right here, to make one do something, cause one to, right? To make, to perform, to do unto one thing, to carry out, to execute, right? They're going to be putting you people in a position, right, to where you have to take it. And we just listen, to that you look to be an Edomite, ultimately had, the statement that he said, right, that they're going to sit here, and it always starts off with being voluntary, right? It always starts off with being voluntary. And then what do? They ultimately come out and basically, without saying it's mandatory, they say it's mandatory. Right? But in this time, they're gonna say it's mandatory, man. You know, just like they did with the C19, right? Where they ultimately started off, hey, you guys got to take it, yada yada yada, so on and so forth. Voluntary, voluntary, voluntary. And then they said, hey, in order for you to be able to go into your grocery stores that you usually go to, in order to, go into certain venues and do certain things, you have to take it. So they made it mandatory, right? Without telling the people, okay, you individually, you have to take it. No, they just made it mandatory by putting the people in a certain position, making it to where you're cut off from society, or that these certain things that you're, entertainment or facilities or whatever it may be, you're now not able to, go and do those things or participate in those things unless you have the C19. And in this time, it's going to be the Charagma, right? This is the time that we're in right now, right? Let's go back, right? It says Revelations 13 and verse 16. It says, and he calls it all, right? Remember, to make, to force, right? He calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Let's go to that word mark, which we've done it before, right? Strong's G 5480. It says right here, Strong's G 5480, charagma, right? Charagma, right? It says stamp, an imprinted mark, right? A thing carved, sculpture, graven work, right? Something that's going to be imprinted, right? Something that's going to be, it's kind of like a tattoo. They take that needle and it jabs into you so many times, it's inserting, right, a ink in under your skin. And this is exactly how the RFID is going to be put within you, right? This it's going to be injected into you via the device that's being used, right? When you go back to the root word, it goes back to what? Karax, right? It says what? It says a pale or a stake, a palisade. And when you look it up, it's kind of like a wooden stake that kill vampires with, right? You know, put a wooden stake through their heart. But it's like that. But in this time, it's gonna be what? It's gonna be a needle, right? Which is going to be that, that vehicle, if you will, that delivers that device into you. And they've already been doing this, right? They've already been, putting, even here in America, since 2014, 2015, they've already been, certain companies within the United States have already offered it, right, to their employees, right? So it's already been in the works over a decade, right? Since 2012, if I'm not mistaken, right? Sweden has been doing it, right? Sea hipping parties and so on and so forth. This is something that's not, this is not something that is in the distant future. This is something that's taking place right now, right? This is something that's happening right now, you know? And again, soon it's going to be made mandatory. You heard the dude say that. Even the government, does this, right? He just, blew the whistle on the government that they sit here and tell you, that this thing is, voluntary. And then eventually they make it to where you're kind of screwed, that you have to take it. And this is exactly what the elder apostles, right, on down, right? Something we've been telling y'all for years. The elder apostles, 35, 40 years plus, you know, telling y'all this was coming, man. These are the times that we are in, and as it says right here, right, verse 17, it says, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Meaning you're not going to be able to participate in society, man. Right? You're not going to be able to, to go into your grocery stores, right? You're not going to be able to go into the movie theater. You're not going to be able to go into, your hospitals or, really and go anywhere to eat. You're not going to be able to do anything, because you're going to need that charagma, man. Because again, we see how everything is moving and we see how where everything is going, right? You got the Amazon Go market where people just walk in, right, with their phones, and they hook their debit card or whatever up to their wallet, right? And then they go in, there's no cash registers, no cashiers. You go in, you grab it, the baskets have sensors, you look above your head, there's a whole bunch of sensors, and you walk in and walk out, and they automatically charge your account. No cashier, no cash register, just straight up all digital. And this is the way that society is moving, right? And this is what Esau wants. And again, it all goes back to his control, right? He wants control over everything you do. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 4, it says, who oppose it? And this is talking about the wicked, right? Esau, Edom, right? The self-proclaimed so-called white man, the physical counterpart of the spiritual demon Satan, right? It says that who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. This is how this damn devil move, man. And the way that he's going to, achieve that is by making the RFID microchip mandatory, right? But we understand that Yahweh Shem Shai is not going to allow that to happen, right? The Lord Yahweh Shem Shai is going to cast this devil down, right, when he's about to fill his belly, man. Let's grab that. Actually, I want to grab this one in Psalms, the 33rd chapter. Just heavy, man, right? Psalms 33 and verse 10, it says, Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai bringeth the counsel of the heathen to naught. He maketh the devices of the people of none effect. So Job 14 and 5, right? The Lord gave him bounds that he cannot pass. So we understand, right? That Esau has got an agenda that he's trying to establish, right? But see, the Lord Yahweh Shem Shah is not going to allow him to fully establish his NWO, right? Right when he's about to really, accomplish it and do what he's supposed to do, the Lord is going to cast it down. Why? Because it says right here, verse 11, the counsel of Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai standeth forever, even the thoughts of his heart to all generations. Right? The Lord has a plan, right? And that plan is to bring down who? The wicked, right? And set up a righteous rulership in his stead. Starting with Yahweh Shai, right? The 144,000 and the rest of the elect in their proper order. Right? Ruling existence in righteousness, man. Right? Whereas Esau Edom is not doing that. Right? He's the wicked. He's evil. Right? And this is also why we tell you, right, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shai, do not take the charagma, man. Right? Because if you ultimately take the charagma, you're ultimately consenting in this damn devil being your perpetual ruler. And look at how he's running the world, man. Look at how he's ruining the world. Right? This is what you want. Look at all those different movies, man, that he's came out with that showcase him or his NWO being established and everyone having received that charagma. Look at how that world is, man. Everyone living on top of each other. The pollution. That's a truly Orwellian society that Esau's trying to establish, man. So hey, you take it. And you're basically signing a death note, man, because at the end of the day, if you take that charagma, you're going to be destroyed, right? This Revelations 14 and verse right here says, doom for worshipers of the beast, and those who truly worship the beast, right? That want to be a part of this system, that want to be, a part of this world, are going to do that. They're going to take the charagma, And again, that's going to lead to your destruction, right? As it says right here, Revelations 14, verse 9, it says, and the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast in his image, right, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, meaning you took the charagma, right, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. Meaning you're going to take that wrath straight, no chaser. Right? When you're drinking alcohol, you know what I mean? If you don't want such a harsh burn in your chest or whatnot, what do? You mix it with a chaser, juice, or whatever it is, right? And it's not as harsh. But the Lord said he's going to give you that wrath with no chaser, man. Right? It says, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. Right? It says, and the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever. And they have no rest, day nor night, who worship the beast in his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. So if you take that charagma, right? If you worship this beast system, right? And you end up taking that charagma, you will be destroyed by Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai. There is no repenting from it. Right? The Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai is saying right here that if you take it, you're going to be destroyed. And again, it doesn't matter, right? Because we understand that Esau, he likes to bribe, right? He even likes to threaten, right? Fearmonger. That's what Esau does. Well, if you don't take it, then we're going to take your home. We're going to take your car. You're not going to be able to feed your kids. Your kids are going to be starving. Like Esau likes to play and pull those emotional strings. Right? Your kids are going to be begging you, mommy, I'm hungry. Mommy, I'm hungry. Daddy, I'm hungry. Daddy, I'm hungry. Why can't we just take it? Your woman going to come up against you. Why can't you just give up and take it? Just like Job, right? His woman, right? Why don't you just curse the Most High and die? She was a foolish woman, man. And not, obviously, those few sisters, that truly believe in Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai, right? They're ultimately going to be delivered. But nonetheless, right, majority of our people, men, women, and children, right, are going to be on the receiving end of this judgment. Why? Because they're going to take the charagma, man. Right? Because they're going to give in to Esau's, emotional string pulling and his fear mongering. you know, his bribery, and they're gonna end up taking it, man. You know, but see, Yahweh Shemel Shai is the true prophets on the scene, right? Warning you. Give it out that warning. Do not take the Karagma, man. No matter the circumstance, no matter how it looks, no matter how you feel. If you take that Karagma, you will fucking die. Thus saith Yahweh Shemel Shai. So don't take the Karagma, man. Stay standing stiffly for the name of Yahweh Shemel Shai. You know, what does it say in Jeremiah? Jeremiah 17 and verse 5. It says, thus saith Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, cursed be the man that trusteth in man. Right? You trust in Esau, Edom, and his system, right? To benefit you. Right? We saw what happened with that woman. She looked like a so-called like Asian woman over there in Australia. She went and took the Kuragma. And what happened? She got locked out of her home, locked out of her car. She couldn't do shit. And you can go look that up. You can go look it up. She was boasting about it, did videos. Brothers did videos on it. And then what happened? She got locked out of everything. And see, this is exactly what Esau Edom wants to do. He wants to sit there and deceive you, right? To take this charagma so that way he can control you. He's gonna tell you, oh no, you know, it's gonna open up more doors. This old financial system, man, it never really, you know, you were able to get hacked, your money was able to be taken, so on and so forth. This is a way better system. No, it's a system for him to be able to monitor and control everything that you do. Esau wants to be the Most High, man, but he is just a man. You know, so you would be a fool to trust in this damn devil, man, in his system, right? Thus saith Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, cursed be the man that trusteth in man, and maketh flesh his arm, and whose heart departeth from Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, right? For he shall be like the heath in the desert, and shall not see when good cometh, but shall inhabit the parched places in the wilderness, in a salt land, and not inhabit it. Meaning you gonna be asked out. You ain't finna have no support. You ain't finna have the Yahweh Shemel Shai is going to be against you, which is something you do not want. Right? You don't want the creator of the universe, the king of the universe, the king of creation, to be against you. Because you're not gonna win that battle. You will never, no one will ever win that battle. You want Yahweh Shemel Shai to be on your side. Right? And those who don't take this charagma, those who stand stiffly for the name of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, and his only beloved begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, in these times, those are the ones that are going to be blessed, exalted, glorified by Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai. You know, and in turn, Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai would be greatly magnified through the elect, right? Verse 7, blessed is the man that trusteth in Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua, whose hope the Lord is, right? So we're not going to, it doesn't matter what Esau tells us, right? No matter what he threatens us with, right? Even if he puts us to death, you know, because some of us are going to have to deal with that, right? Revelation's the 2nd chapter, right? Some of us are going to have to be thrown into these FEMA camps, these isolation facilities, detention centers, whatever you want to call them, because we're not willing to follow Esau Edom and his agenda, you know, which means we very well could be put to death. But see, Psalms, the 106th chapter, right? The Lord says, precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints. So as long as we continue to stay faithful and trust and believe in, you know, in Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, and guess what? There's a reward for us, man. You know, it says, blessed is the man that trusteth in Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, and whose hope Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua is. For he shall be as a tree planted by the waters, that spreadeth out her roots by the river, and shall not see when heat cometh, but her leaf shall be green, and shall not be careful in the year of drought, neither shall cease from yielding fruit. What does it say in 2nd Esdras, the 2nd chapter, right? You know, that, you know, trouble cometh, but, you know, that we're not to be, you know, weary, right? Matter of fact, let me grab that real quick. This is, come on, 2nd Esdras, 2nd Esdras chapter 2 and verse 27. It says, be not weary, For when the day of trouble and heaviness cometh, and it's coming, right? We're in Jacob's trouble right now, but see, the peak of Jacob's trouble is right around the corner, right? For when the day of trouble and heaviness cometh, others shall weep and be sorrowful, and that's 2/3 of our of you Israelites, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right here in America, right? You're gonna be sorrowful and you're gonna weep because you went and trusted in Esau, Edom, and his system. And now you're going to be destroyed by the Heavenly Father and His only beloved begotten Son, right? It says, "But thou shalt be merry and have abundance," meaning we're going to have more than more than we need, right? Abundance, right? We're going to have abundance. Yahweh Shem Shai is going to take care of us. You read that in Isaiah the 65th chapter. You can start at verse 13. Really, you can start at verse 12. And read on down. But it says, "The heathen shall envy thee, but they shall be able to do nothing against thee," right? Saith the Lord. I'll read again. Salak, verse 28. It says, "The heathen shall envy thee, but they shall be able to do nothing against thee, saith the Lord. My hand shall cover thee so that thy children shall not see hell." So at the end of the day, man, Yahweh Shem Shai is going to protect the elect, and everyone outside of that is going to be destroyed here in America, man. Especially you 2/3, you wicked Israelites that continue to trust in this system, which has been proven time and time again, ain't for you. Ain't for you, man. At all. But you want to continue to bark up that tree. Hey, that's okay. Go ahead. Keep that same energy when all hell breaks loose. When this damn devil sits there and confounds you. Well, that's all I got, man. Yahweh Shem Shai is truly speeding things up. We are definitely in the time where the prophecy of Revelation 13, verse 16 on down is going to come to pass, and it's speaking loud and clear. So with that, Lord wills, edifying, Lord will, straight to the point, I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak Kodash, double honors to the elder apostles, the elder bishops, the elders of Great Millstone. Till next time, I say Shalom.